Hey, good Wednesday morning, my friends. I'm Live Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. I apologize if I'm one day off. This always happens to me with these Memorial Day and Labor Day kind of holidays. And then it messes with the forecast because I say, well, tomorrow on Wednesday. No, wait a minute. Today, well, we'll figure it out. We have a decent rain on the way. We do need it. It's been, kind of sneaky dry in the last month or two for a lot of places. This isn't one of these everybody gets an inch type of rain, but a decent rain for a lot of folks. And I'm going to show you some rainfall totals off of the models that I consider the best in this situation. We do have some cooler weather, and I want to emphasize that summer is not done. That's not rocket science from a meteorologist. You typically know that we get a warm stretch in September. It looks like it's shaping up, let's call it for the second half of next week. Next weekend, not this weekend, but the following weekend looks quite summery, and I'm going to show you that. And so I'm thinking if you're thinking about putting away the summer toys, I would stick it out another 10 days or so, and then you could probably put them away. All right, first things first, we need a rain. Again, this is a cold front, so you get what you get in about 2 or 3 hours at best. And if it's a thunderstorm, which it looks like we could have thunderstorms this afternoon and this evening, then you probably get a half inch of rain, or maybe a little better if it's a vigorous thunderstorm. If you don't get a thunderstorm, you're probably a quarter inch of a rain or less, or something like that. Let's see who we got on here. Beverly Paddock. Good morning to you and the D. Todd Nordhoff's getting some rain in Cadillac. Yes, good to see. I'm going to start watering my freshly planted trees and evergreens that have only been in the ground less than a year, because this is a good time to get water on them. So here's your radar. And I wanted to show you this, that you can see the first cold front coming down, and then you see the second cold front way up at the far upper left of the screen, and that cold front comes through on Friday. Each one takes the temperature down a little bit. Let's see what Jason DeVoe says. Your weekend forecast for Leland, Michigan, and a great beach day was spot on. Hey, I got to screenshot this. Somebody said I was right. Wow. Bluebird skies, little wind, big lake was glass till 2:30. Yes, glad you enjoyed it. It was great. You know what? When we could take the wind out of the equation and put full sunshine in, it's a whole different feel. So what I want to show you here was these are the current temperatures. And note where the cold front is and the showers right now, pretty mild in the 60s. Holland to Muskegon to Pentwater to the Traverse City area to Petoskey to the Mackinac Bridge, Eastern UP, pretty mild. A little bit cooler in other places, but not too terrible. So along the front, when you get the clouds, when you get the rainfall, it actually holds the temperature up overnight. So you start pretty mild, and the cooler air, I should say, hasn't moved through just yet. Here's the radar forecast. Newest run is coming in. Let me just hit refresh. Could be a disaster because Spectrum Internet is not the greatest lately. So this is 1 o'clock this afternoon, 2 and 3. So the idea is, as we go to the afternoon, very early afternoon, most data shows this line of showers increasing in intensity. That would be pretty common. And thunderstorms in there. Nothing expected to be severe, maybe vigorous downpours. This is 6 o'clock. So let's take Ann Arbor and Detroit and the far southeast. You are probably dry until sometime in the second half of the evening. This is 11 o'clock. Grand Rapids, you're probably into the showers by early afternoon and thunderstorms, and you might get a couple of rounds of them. And then all of this moves to the southeast and southern part of the state in the second half of the evening. That's the first cold front. Kind of bogs down. That's a sign that summer is still strong just to our south in Ohio and Indiana. So the cold fronts now make it in through Michigan, but then they bog down for the most part. Now, this is through the night tonight, so it's going to be a fairly quiet night tonight. And tomorrow, this is midday, so tomorrow should be a dry day. Then we'll pick this up for the Friday rainfall. Okay, just a second here. So you see, we picked various models that have various strengths and time periods, kinds of weather, and whatnot. And I got to say, the weather app that you use probably does not do that, because I hear from you that you feel most weather apps are inaccurate. This is Thursday morning, 7 a.m. So I would call tomorrow dry, except in the far north. You could get spotty showers, in Charlevoix County and Emmett County, places like that. This is tomorrow evening, Thursday evening. This is Friday early, 4 in the morning, 5, 6, 7, 8, and off. So the next system is a solid rain, light to moderate for all of the UP, probably all of northern lower Michigan, let's say from Cadillac to Tawas northward. South of that, it's more of a spotty type rainfall. Good morning, Tony Crino and Kalamazoo. So this is Friday afternoon. As the colder air comes in, then we'll get the speckles of lake effect rain showing up. I wanted to show you the totals, so this is that same model, and I think it gives you a good idea. We go through, let's go through the rain tonight into tomorrow morning, very early tomorrow morning. And what you see, some streaks of inch-plus rains. You see some streaks of a tenth, 2/10 of an inch. Mostly you see darker green, which would be a 1/4 inch or more. So I think a lot of us are looking at a 1/4 to 1/2 inch. And where you get under a robust thunderstorm, you could get up to an inch. And this model, usually does not overdo the precipitation. So when you see a 1.4 in Jackson, doesn't mean that it exactly would happen in Jackson, but this model is trying to say that some thunderstorms are going to get going and could put down some useful water. If you get 1.5 inches, what I would do actually, and I've changed my mind. We could change our minds over the years, right? It used to really grind me, and it's not so common now, and I don't drive into places where I see this, but it used to really grind me when I'd see a good 1-inch thunderstorm, and then you'd see a bank with their irrigation running on their grass. And I thought, wait a minute, aren't you paying for that water? Wouldn't you as a bank want to lower your costs and just hit the kill switch on the irrigation because it just rained a ton? Your parking lot is soaked. Well, now I've come back the other way on, like, say, for example, my evergreens. I want them to go. I planted them last July 2024. It didn't rain for about 3 months, so I watered and watered and watered and watered. They made it through. A lot of folks died because of the drought. Now I want a wet, a normal wet fall pattern. I don't want a wet fall, but I want a normal soil moisture to get in there in the fall, because then they will take hold. Then they will be a lot more hardy, but they haven't done that yet. So where I was going with this was, what I'll do now is if it rains a 1/2 inch, I'll go out there and do the rest of the job with the soaker hose and get them really wet. I figure Mother Nature got me halfway there. Mother Nature did the hard part, got the soil moistened up. Now I'm going to get the water down into the root system. So that's what I would say is, if you feel like you got kind of a skimpy rain, get out there with the hose and work with Mother Nature after she's done. Okay, and I digress. Good morning, Grass Lake, Catherine Cyphers. So, and then this is the Friday, additional Friday rainfall. It comes across about the northern third of lower Michigan and the UP, doesn't do much in the south. Then we go farther out. We pick the European model for that. The US model, the GFS, pretty good to 3 and 4 days, but the European a lot better after that. So this is Friday morning, a 6 hour rainfall amount. UP, northern half of lower Michigan. This is Friday morning into early afternoon. Frankenmuth has its what do they call Auto Fest, I think they call it, the car show. And Friday afternoon into evening looks dry. I would not be surprised to have some drizzle around, but it looks dry. This is Saturday. Looks a little showery in northern lower Michigan, Traverse City northward. And then Sunday, it looks a little bit showery again in the typical lake effect areas. Dry for Monday and Tuesday. And then we're going to start, and now this is through Thursday dry, Friday dry, next Saturday, next Sunday. And that's where I'm targeting the summer comes back in. So secretly on the inside texts, I'll give you this. On the inside texts to my friends secretly, I'm saying, don't pull your boat. Obviously, we're not using it this weekend, but the following weekend, we may find a really nice pattern. Of course, the water temperatures are going down, but let's look at the high temperature forecast. So today, classic Michigan. I like to always say nowhere else in the country. Here's one state, you're going to be 84-ish. In Detroit, you're going to be 82-ish in Ann Arbor. You're going to be 78 in Saginaw. You're going to be 74 in Grand Rapids. You're going to be 64 in Traverse City. You're going to be 51 in Iron Mountain and the far western part of the state. Tomorrow, drop down to highs in the 60s. Ann Arbor, Detroit, everybody. So tomorrow is back to the sweatshirt. Saginaw, Grand Rapids, 63. Traverse City area, Cadillac, Northwest lower in the mid to upper 50s for highs tomorrow. Friday, the secondary cold front coming down, 70 in the southeast, upper 50s Traverse City. Here's Saturday, low 60s for highs, southern half, 50s, northern half. Sunday, temperatures in the 50s and 60s. Monday, 60s. Tuesday, back to the low 70s. Wednesday, back to the low to mid 70s. Thursday, mid to upper 70s. Friday, September 12th. This model in its deterministic mode, the most favored set of starting circumstances, says next Friday could be into the low 80s in places. Next Saturday, September 13th, in the 80s. Sunday in the 80s to near 90. Monday in the 80s. Tuesday, the September the 16th, and then a cold front. And we don't really, look at the exact numbers 9 days out when it says 90 degrees. So now what we want to do is we want to go to the ensemble. This is a very key point. The ensemble forecast. And I'll just show you that one. So here we are. This is 50 tweaks of the model, and I want to show you what it says late next week. So here is Thursday. 50 tweaks averaged. Oh, I better get back to the map here. Okay. Here's Thursday, next Thursday, in the 70s. Next Friday, 50 tweaks, averaging near 80. Here's Saturday, the 13th. Average in the 80s. and Sunday. Average. So this is all 50 of them averaging and actually averaging up, which means that could be actually warmer than what the deterministic model run. So my point is summer's not done. We know we get a summer pattern in September. And lately in the past decade, some of those summer patterns have been rip-roaring hot. Remember, we had a week in late September, I don't know, it's been 4 or 5 years ago, where we were in the 90s all week. So get ready for some cool weather. And don't put the summer toys away just yet. Thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update. I'm MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. Take care.